Another episode of Beyond Business, episode 7, my lucky number. And who better to have on episode 7 than my own trainer, Phill Fagan, sitting beside me, by the way. So first, he's sitting nice and close, just in case I step out of line, and he can give me a bit of a nudge. But welcome, Phill, to the stage.
Thank you, sir.
So the topic of today is peak performance, mind, body, and career. And when putting this caption together and thinking about Phill, he's encapsulated those 3 words. Is be able to connect his mind with his body, and through that period of time build a wonderful career, which we're going to learn more about today. So Phill, before I invite you to talk about yourself and give us a bit of your history, welcome Kylie.
Well, thank you.
And so over to you, mate. Tell us a little bit about Phill Fagan, the journey, where it all started, and where you are today. Tell us.
My journey started. It's a simple one, but a long one. Born and raised in London. I started boxing at an early age, at the tender age of 11. Boxed throughout my school years, as well as obviously being at school. I was lucky enough to earn many titles and accolades along the way. Training for me was always a passion from day one. I loved boxing, loved the safety of being in the gym. Definitely different from being on the streets, and kept me off the streets. Just boxing was just the primary motivator at a young age.
And after a while, when did how did you come about coming to Australia? What was the motivation? And
look, I'd always been interested in travel. Obviously, living in England, plenty of Aussies in the country. Lots of people around me were always saying that I wouldn't travel, that I wouldn't go on this journey. But I was just always interested in travel from an early age.
So you emigrated to Australia and you continued on with fighting professionally.
Yep. Look, there was a competition when I first got to these shores called the K1. That was a sort of kickboxing competition. So I participated in that at an early age. It's a wonderful competition.
And so the K1 was, for anyone that may not know, was the premier kickboxing international competition.
Yes.
So you had a regional Pan-Pac title holder that would then represent that region in Japan.
Yes.
And fight against the best in the world.
Right? It was always set around obviously Victoria, and then if you won Victoria, then obviously there'd be people coming from different parts of the country. But the unique thing about the K1 is that you fought 2 or 3 times in one night.
One night,
So pretty full on for fighting, where generally you'd have one fight.
So it's intense enough to be fighting one fight, let alone 3 in the one night.
Yes, especially after injury, or obviously you'd have to be winning those fights, so a round robin type competition. So pretty full on. And
last but not least, tell us a little bit about your children.
2 beautiful kids. I've got a 12-year-old son, Javian, and a 17-year-old daughter, Sataya. She's obviously basketball. Just unbelievable from an early age. She's always just loved the sport and grown in the sport. My wife was also played basketball at an early age, so she obviously grew up with that as the sport that she was going to go into, and just from an early age just took a take into it.
Fantastic.
Amazing.
So he's very modest. So Sataya is an Australian junior representative and heading down the college route and heading down the professional. So he's mentoring his own daughter, and I've met Jay, lovely young boy. And look, some challenges with Jay as well in terms of his health that you've had to really overcome.
He got a condition called encephalitis, which is like sort of similar to meningitis, where he got a bacteria that bypassed his immune system and got into his spinal cord, which then caused his brain to close down to protect itself. So we were in hospital for about 3 months all up, and just incredible. One of the darkest days in my life, obviously, as we sort of knocked on death's door and managed to creep back from that. And yeah, he's obviously a wonderful child, and we watched him pull back from that condition. Amazing, a fighter.
Yeah, he's a fighter. We spent some time with him and visited as well.
Yes.
And this is what's special, and we're going to invite everyone to talk to you a little bit more. But this is why I thought it's really important for Phill to share this story, because really what I find so amazing about Phill is there's a lot going on where, we've got a child talent in Sataya going on to amazing things. With Jay, definitely he's got his own talents, but has had some health challenges which we've had to, overcome. And even the two very different scenarios, aren't they, where you're mentoring one and you're nurturing the other.
Yeah.
But what just amazes me about Phill is just his overall perspective on life, his calmness. And to think about the journey he's been on where you're fighting, but to still maintain this calmness and perspective and poise, for me, is special, and why he's in my corner, because it's something that I can really learn from. And when we train together, it's always, hey Arthur, just tone it down a little bit. Your body hates you. Slow down with the punches and let it flow. And he's always reminding me about this flow state. And so how do you then carry that flow state into life, into relationships, and into business is what really I'm learning from Phill, and is why in my top 5 people in my corner.
Thanks, mate.
But it's really impressive the way you just work with people, the way you communicate with people. You're an absolute gentleman.
Yeah.
So I just want to commend you on that journey, and congratulations on a wonderful journey and career.
Thank you.
But I'm going to open up the questions to the team in terms of this life experience and the journey, and around this whole connection between the mind and the body. Let's open it up with you, Brahm. Anything that you've got for Phill in terms of how's been able to put it all together in that insane, moments in the ring where you've got this resistance in front of you, to then still be able to keep it all together, stay working, supporting a family, nurturing dreams and nurturing goals and nurturing health, to remain this even-keeled, smiling person.
Yeah.
Over to you.
Yeah, appreciate it. And you must have read my mind, because I was ready to throw a punch,
Yeah.
No, hey, look, Phill, it's a pleasure. Tell us, basically, everybody who is very calm, they have a philosophy on life. That's 1. 2, they have certain belief systems. And 3, they have certain habits. Tell us a little bit more about thoughts, beliefs, habits of yours that allow you to be calm, collected, and probably in the flow.
Look, a lot of self-belief. From an early age, I learned that I could always rely on myself. Not to say that I didn't need others, but I knew that if I relied on myself with my determination, I'd get things done. So I think, knowing yourself would be one of my number 1, that you're really in touch with yourself. And then that way, things around you just can't affect you as much as they could if you're not sure who you are. So I was a quiet boy. I was always listening. I wasn't one for talking. So a great listener. So I think listening always helps. Realizing that we're all the same, that we're all, even people can give all this, and I certainly had lots of mouthy people around me growing up. But the realization that we're all the same. Some people bluster and puff and shout and scream, and others are quiet and others are mellow. But I think listening is another important component of knowing who you are. And just confidence in what you do. I wouldn't say I was the most confident person, but I'm definitely confident in what I do. So anything I feel that I know, I will attack with a ferocity, whether it be boxing, cooking, doesn't matter what. If I feel that I know it, then I'll apply myself 100%. Business, to a degree, if it's my business, then no, I know how to run my business, And of course, we need ideas and to be open to other people's ideas and philosophies. But at the end of the day, I'm definitely very driven to,
I like that, mastering your craft and then proceeding with confidence. So it's like, we're all trying to be the best at everything versus being really good and narrow focus, and mastering that craft, and then having that confidence. But then from that, there's probably interchangeable skills that you can then bring into other places in your life as well.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Yeah,
It's very good.
Kylie.
Gosh, Phill, I could just go in so many different places. Like, I just love this stuff, but I'm going to try and practically apply it to our audience, right? You clearly are someone that is internally motivated and driven and have had strong beliefs about yourself, okay? We know that many of those are formed in our younger years, okay, whether it be by the people around us or our parents or our brothers or our sisters, aunties, uncles. What was it about your childhood that set you up for this drive and success and motivation? The first question. And what advice would you give to people that maybe didn't have that to get that confidence and belief and drive in themselves? Because we can change our story and we can rewrite that story.
Yeah, look, I think, what drove me. I think the feeling of just wanting to, I guess, prove people wrong. You know, I always felt that people had an opinion. I also grew up in a black neighbourhood, as it were, and there was very much you can't step out of this box thing in that neighbourhood. But I always felt I could, you know, and I had good people around me that said that I could. So I think pushing out of the box was really important, and just not being held back, not allowing people to hold me back. So using that to push myself forward, and then once I sort of broke out of that box, I found that I was free and there was more to have. So that's always sort of been my drive, that people said that you couldn't do it. If somebody said I couldn't do it, then I can do it. You know, that was more, so that's what made me the rebel. But I guess if you haven't got that drive yourself, or you don't feel that drive's in you, then having those people in your corner would be, being attracted to those sort of personalities would definitely, hopefully, install some motivation and drive in yourself. So having a good personal trainer, having good friends who are obviously motivated and grabbing life, you know.
Sorry, go ahead, Kylie. Yeah.
You know, and I think that's a great relation that you talked about with Arthur, right? Like, Arthur, you said my top 5 people in my corner, right? And sometimes we don't have that, but we can. So I think that the point to make is for people to go, you might have had, I don't know, a tough upbringing, or maybe didn't have confidence, or maybe didn't have belief, but now sitting down and focused on what's really important, and then what's really important to me to grow. So it might be physical, it might be mental, it might be the body, it might be career, and then trying to find those 5 people to help them in that space.
And I think as I'm saying, we think that we have to do it alone. But at the end of the day, it is about finding those people that can help you, assist you, give you direction, or just using people around us for motivation to take us to that next level.
Yeah. I've got an interesting story. 12 years ago, when I started my business, I reached out on LinkedIn and said, just starting a new business, I'm looking for a pro bono mentor. So this was 12 years ago when I was starting a new business, so I didn't have a huge amount of cash to throw around. Pro bono mentor, someone in this space and this space. Now, I still have him 12 years later, and I'm catching up with him when I go to Melbourne. We don't talk every month like I used to.
Are you paying him now, Kylie?
I should be, shouldn't I? But that's the thing. That's how easy it can be, isn't it? Right? It can be putting a call out and going, you know what? I need some help in this space. Not being afraid to be vulnerable.
Totally. It's such a good point, isn't it? So I've been talking about, as you're all aware on this call, who's in your corner. You're the average of the 5 people you spend most of your time with, and the sooner you realise that, the sooner I feel that you will progress. And looking and reflecting back on my time, in my early years, I probably spent too much time with the wrong 5 people, and found that I was limited in terms of my potential. And I started to really unlock my potential. First step was to detox of those personalities. That's the first step. You're not going to go from the wrong 5 to the right 5 in one simple step. There's this detachment process, there's this dependency process, there's a detoxification process. And I think it's fair to say that we all know exactly what I'm talking about in terms of those relationships. And then there might be a period of time where you just need to neutralise and just kind of be on your own and then find yourself, which is what Phill was talking about, is building your self-confidence, finding what you're good at, expanding on that, and then through that, breaking through that nexus. And then that's probably the right time to then start saying, right, I need to now assemble my team. So who are you then going to go out and assemble around you? And find people that, that aren't in that same space as you, because to get that growth, you need to, like to your point, Kylie, is reach out to people that might say no, but that might be a misinformed belief, an ill belief that may not be the case at all. And you might surprise yourself. Because I believe that, and what I know is that when you're ready, the universe will then bring those people into your space when you reach out. If you're not ready, it won't happen. And so, I first came across Phill, I changed gyms. I'm looking about it now. I changed gyms. But I now know why I changed gyms. It's because he was there in that gym. Not because of the gym, but he was training people upstairs in the ring. And I was watching him from downstairs. I took my eye off the mirror for a second instead of watching my muscles. I'm like, all right, there's this trainer upstairs. I think I know a bit of boxing, so-and-so. What's this guy? And I'm watching him going, he's pretty good. It's like, I wander upstairs and go for a walk past and just, suss it out. Like, this guy knows what he's talking about,
There was a healthy dose of ego.
Exactly. I did a bit of window shopping. And so now I look back, and it wasn't the fact that I actually joined that gym, but you were in that gym. And that's why I felt I was ready for someone like Phill in my life. And look, everyone that knows me well knows that I'm a very motivated person. I'm very vocal. I'm that gregarious, kind of guy. And I'm very emotional. So my emotions go up and down. But, and that would then translate to my relationships away from work, and, how I communicate with my people, my business partners, and obviously my clients. And so having that calmness in my life in a session where it's very, physical, and being able to resist the entrapment of physicality and your mind racing up and down to being more effective physically, but in a more of a calm flow state is what I'm learning. But that's also now translating in the way I behave and act in every day in every business. So I've taken that connection between the mind and the body, as we say, into my career. So mind, body, career, and starting to bring it all together, being far more effective. So that was an interesting reflection point. Thank you, Kylie, for helping me understand why I changed gyms. I didn't change gyms for gym's sake. It was actually, the free weights are the same in that gym as the other gym, but this guy was there waiting for me. Thank you, Kylie and Bram. The secret that I actually wanted to share with everyone, and just conscious of our time together, is Phill is actually a cordon bleu chef.
Yeah.
So the punchline this is the twist in the story. So we know Phill as a successful fighter, K1 fighter, boxing, kickboxing obviously is K1. And so there's, the fighter in the ring, but also the father and the husband. And also before all that is a chef.
Many years. Which really started my journey with travelling. London to Holland.
Holland. Tell us a bit about that journey and how you were a chef, but at the same time maintained this fighting interest.
Yeah.
Because they're two very different. When I think of chefs, I think about, excuse me, without stereotyping, a bigger guy or a bigger person, sampling the food, but not quite 6'4", mountain of muscle. How did that all come together?
Well, look, I guess in the same way, you know, and that's probably now I can talk really about my school years.
Yes.
No, yeah, leaving school, I obviously wasn't very academic. I knew I wasn't, but I knew I had a passion from within. And yeah, food just seemed a natural progression. My father was a hotelier, so I'd worked in his hotels, washing the dishes and all the rest of it. But I remember my first two chefs. One was very large, the other one was very skinny. The skinny one was blind, and the large one was the Joker. So you know, these two characters they just motivated me in what they could do, because they didn't seem to be those people. They were wonderful chefs and wonderful people. So from an early age, I started tasting real food after growing up with not a lot of real food. And just got the taste for food, a good piece of meat and a good jus and a piece of fresh fish, you know. So my flavors were just exploded in my head, and I just thought, this is something I could do. So yeah, I went off and I did a course, yeah, it was funny. For years, cooking and kicking, or cooking and boxing, were always separate, because you know, people would use it against you. They would, you know, growing up in England, you could never sort of mix the both. It was, you know, when I was young, I was almost walking to work with a briefcase. So to be a martial artist and boxing was just two things, and business just didn't run hand in hand. Yeah, so yeah, I've just always loved cooking and always loved punching.
Nobody would mess around with you in the kitchen.
Well, look, I was always a motivator. So as much as I'm very joyful now, I've got a serious side to me, obviously. So I found with my joy of life, you also need some. You need to use your aggression. You need to channel your aggression. So in the kitchen, I could always channel my aggression, but at the same time give joy. So that I could flip around with those two conditions to get the best results in building a team, in producing fine foods, in motivating others or motivating my team to produce the goods as well. So yeah, my personality has always been a bonus, that I'm obviously a smiley, happy person, but I've also got a streak of aggression and determination that sort of lays there as well. Which you haven't seen yet.
I have, and I have felt it. So Carly, yeah, let's tap into that a little bit more. That's really interesting. That's that, you know, the aggression, determination, but also that kindness and joy. Let's tap into that. Over to you.
Yeah. Me?
Yeah, well, you know, let's tap into it a little bit more. This whole pressure.
There is. And, you know, I remember when COVID hit, right? And what people, the entire leadership traits of what our people wanted started to shift, right? And one of the most best looked skills from a leader was a calm leader, right? To be able to lead them through calm, right? In times of turbulence, how do I look to you and know that I'm scared, but you've got this. We've got this together and I'm with you. So I feel that's probably your advantage, is that you can channel this aggression and release it, but you know when to be calm, right? And it's probably one of the top 10 traits of a really high performing leader now is a calm leader. So it's totally shifted since COVID, because look at what happened in COVID.
Yeah.
But there's a couple other things that are really coming up for me around that calmness and, you know, the happiness, but then the serious side. How do you get up every day, even on those hard days, right? Because you've clearly, you know, before we hopped on, you said your darkest day was looking death in the face with your son sick, right? And I'm sure that's not just been the hardest times throughout your life. How can people get up every day, even when it's really hard, whether it be personal or work? How do you get them to show up?
Look, it's tough, no doubt it's tough. I mean, for me personally, I guess it comes down to discipline, which obviously as a leader, you know, I found that not everyone has that same discipline, and that's always been a frustration. But we can always build on discipline, whether it's through obviously sports or the things we do or the people we have around us to help us with those with being disciplined. Motivation comes and goes, but discipline stays forever. So if you can find your discipline and realize that it's going to lead you to results, then that's the reason to be disciplined. So that's the message.
That's the habits that you're talking about, Brahm, isn't it? That habit every single day,
Yes.
that discipline to get out of bed, show up, be positive, be calm, move forward. We got this.
Yeah. And
even when we might not feel it.
Yeah, and days of turmoil where things aren't right, but still getting up and trying to approach the day with those basic things.
I want to tap into that a little bit as well, because it's interesting around this whole discipline and showing up. And so obviously I train with Phill on a regular basis. I try and do 3 sessions a week, most of the time twice. And there are days where I feel that I'm not bringing my best going into the session. And so what would happen is that would then, the mindset then going into my session is, I'm not feeling it. And what Phil's helped me do, and I quite haven't mastered it yet, but he's actually helped me reframe that feeling going in. And he basically said to me a lot of times, the fact that you're here is the discipline.
Yes.
So that is the growth.
Showing up.
Because I could just ring up last minute or text last minute and go, we're gonna leave it, and so there's a consequence for that. We get that, but the point is it's a cop out. So the fact is it's not about the money in terms of not showing. It's the fact that I show. Now accept that even though I may not be feeling 100%, it's okay. Whereas before, I'd be beating myself up. And it's always telling, and even today, I did it this morning, where you said, I said, I can't train as often as I want for the next few weeks. We've got our national PD coming up. And he's like, that's it, but that's the joy where you actually have those rest times, the rest moments. And see the positive that you're now resting your body so that once that is over, you can come back ready to go and fire up and go again. Now I kind of went, he's right, that's actually right. Actually, my body can recuperate and rest. And so what I can do in the meantime is I can pick up my gym work at home instead and elevate that for the next few weeks. I thought, okay. And that's the discipline, is to say that, it's the mindset and the way you frame it going into those sessions to change. After you
There's an interesting point there to make. From a psychological perspective, you always have a choice to go 2 ways. And from a framing or a perception perspective, if you, for example, say, look, I've got a chance here to either focus on the things I don't want or focus on the things I do want. And you mentioned the emotional state that we sometimes all go through. We have our highs and lows. Sometimes we feel it, sometimes we don't. The thing is, if you focus on, for example, feeling guilty of not going, you keep feeding the weeds, and the weeds get better, and then the guilt festers. You got to catch yourself on the feelings that you're getting, because emotionally speaking, you're getting feedback through your body that you sense. If, however, what you just said, Arthur, you said, hey, I'm showing up and I'm just focusing on, even though I don't necessarily feel that day to going, I'm focusing because otherwise I cop out and I don't want to let Phill down.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm actually doing this because I know that I'm actually going to feel better afterwards. You're feeding the roses now instead of the weeds.
Yeah.
This choice we all have. So practical techniques is catch yourself. What am I focusing on? What am I putting the water to? The weeds or the roses? The more you focus on the roses, the more you're going to get an abundance of beautiful things in your life.
I love that, mate. I love that. That's such a good analogy. And and that even extends to the people around you that you choose. Are they feeding your weeds, or are they, helping you water the roses? Totally right. So catching yourself, as you said, I think is brilliant, and then having the right people around you to, steer you in the right direction as well.
So create disciplines in the right areas. The roses, not the weeds.
Yeah. And I'll add to that as well, because I think there's a second element that we can drive is that habits are created by frequency and time. Okay, so even when there's times that I wake up, probably more times than not, of a morning I wake up and I go, you know what, really don't feel like going for that run or that jog, but I do, even if it's 10 minutes, even if it's 5 minutes, even if it's 20 minutes. Once I'm out, I'm like, oh, I'm so glad I done it. So that is the frequency. So the neurons continue to connect and they're there and they're just, that's what we do, right? So even when I don't feel like it, it's like, well, that doesn't matter. Just go, just get up and go. But we've got a question as well, Phill, for you. What, in your opinion, is the number one mindset shift that separates champions in leadership or in sport and in life from the rest of the pack? So that's a question from the audience. So what separates, in your mind, what's that shift that separates champions from others?
Yeah, I think just starting, just to start something, and obviously dreaming is one aspect, but starting something for sure. You know, make a plan, set a date, and start. And you know how that follows through. Well, you know, who knows? Determination, people around you, who's in your corner, who knows? But just starting, just knowing that you have an idea, and making a date and starting.
I like that, because one of the things that you said, Arthur, before was maybe sometimes we're not ready. So you said maybe we weren't ready for that. I actually think that could be the case with some people, for sure. But sometimes I think it's people are not clear. People don't take that time to think and go, what do I really, really want? My coach always says to me, what do you really, really want, Kylie? And I'm like, oh, great question. So sometimes we can be ready. We just haven't actually taken the time to think about what we want, and therefore we don't attract it. So what you're saying is just do it. Figure out what you want to do and do it, and don't give up. Discipline.
Get clear, have the disciplines, have the right people around you.
Yeah.
Time, Bram. Sorry, I cut you off. Go ahead, mate.
Very quick, but I think sometimes I see that people really insist on discipline, but I think you also got to understand that if you don't find anything useful or enjoyable in the thing you're creating a discipline about, you're going to find ways to not keep up with it. So whatever it is, whether it's a run, boxing, this or that, I think your discipline, you ideally build in an area where you either enjoy the people that you're doing it, or you enjoy the activity or the thing that it gives you. If none of that is true, you're not going to keep up your discipline. So
Find your passion.
Find passion.
That's it.
So we have one question that we ask every audience. Every guest.
Who's your favorite student?
I am. He's already said that. If our listeners, Phill, could take one action, what would it be?
Just to feel good about yourself. You know, to look inward and see what it has that's made you. And, just to try and find some glimmer of goodness in yourself.
Nice.
I like that.
Loving yourself, right? Exactly. Liking yourself.
Loving and liking yourself.
Yeah.
Getting to know yourself. Really important.
Great.
Just time and patience. Really important.
Awesome. All right, that's a wrap. Thank you everyone for joining. Thank you so much, Phill.
Thanks,
Absolute. Look, we spar every Sunday, so we tell each other how we love each other, how much with a few blows to the face and the body. But look, with utmost honesty and sincereness, you coming into my life has been an absolute pleasure. And I haven't really told you this before, but I love you, man.
Thanks,
like,
brother.
mate,
I appreciate that.
It's like
Love's an important.
you bring up this warrior mentality and mindset in me, but and so warrior is not always about appearing a certain way. It's just,
Warriors have downtime.
The calmness and that that resolve and that poise and
save it for the battlefield.
And just that love for what you do and for yourself. And I just want to say thank you.
No,
your family, and good luck to the kids, and Sataya with her journey, and Jay with his journey, back at school and getting
into
back
it.
into that as well. So
Amazing.
that's the fact that you've got that focus in your life is fantastic. Obviously, your business, and you've started the online business as well. Tell us about that just quickly. Is there an online app?
I've done 2 courses online, basic boxing and my Focus 30, which is a conditioning course, but 2 boxing programs that you can purchase online.
And how do people access that?
You can access it through my link. So if you go to my page, Into Boxing, Phill Fagan, then you can access through the link.
So Into Boxing, so into the number 2 boxing. Go to the site, download the app, support the great man. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you in the next. When are we training next? Sunday.
Sunday. Yeah, see you in the ring.
Yep, head guard, mouth guard, all of it. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Kylie.
No smiles.
Thanks, Phill.
Bomb.
Thanks, guys.
See you soon.